G'day folks, this is a conversation about how men have to actually now go out of our means to protect ourselves from being abused by women, because women seem to think that it's okay, on average in this day and age, to just abuse men and then not even acknowledge that they're being abusive. So I'm here trying to talk about how men are being abused by women who think it's okay to abuse men, and they want to gaslight and make out like it's perfectly fine. And then in response to this, a bunch of women jump in and they try to gaslight. Look, they start calling me an asshole. How dare you not want to be abused by women? You should just let us abuse you. You're an asshole. I said, don't try to gaslight me into accepting abuse. What you just said is very evil and disgusting. All victims should be cared for, even if they are male. And then she tries to gaslight further. Oh, I never said you should accept abuse. And then she starts making insults and things like this. I replied, you literally said, don't act like a victim. If somebody tells you, when they're abusing you, to not act like a victim, that's called abuse. That's gaslighting. That's further abuse added on top of the abuse. Of course you're allowed to act like a victim and call yourself a victim and speak about yourself as a victim if you are a victim of abuse. And only an abuser who's trying to gaslight you and get away with their abuse would say otherwise. And so she makes excuses and tries to gaslight to justify her evil, abusive ways, her hatred towards innocent men who are victims of abuse. Telling someone to not act like a victim when they are talking about how they have been abused is disgusting gaslighting and further abuse. And then she tries to gaslight further and say, you were talking about how you were going to abuse your future partners, but I should be the one to apologize because you misinterpreted something? Hell no. So this is an example of further gaslighting, more abuse that she thinks is justified. Why? Because I'm a man and she thinks it's okay to abuse innocent men, like the average woman today. So my response, don't lie. I'm talking about protecting men from abuse. You were trying to gaslight and say that that is mean to women. Oh, I'm mean now. I'm the abuser because I just said that women shouldn't abuse men. So now I'm the big baddie. You see how these women love to abuse men? And they'll make up any excuse to do it. It is disgusting. Nobody should be discriminated against. Nobody should be abused. And when someone is suffering discrimination and abuse, to try to neglect their victimhood and downplay the fact that that person who is suffering abuse is a victim and should be cared for as a victim is the most disgusting form of abuse that exists. Right? Gaslighting the victim of abuse into accepting their abuse and not standing up as a victim to fight in their own defense, put an end to the abuse, that is the worst form of abuse that can be perpetuated against anyone by anyone in any existence or universe. The worst of the worst, the most evil way you can treat people in the world is to actually convince them that they just need to keep being abused and suffer, that they can't get out of that situation, and that they're even not really in that situation, so just suck it up and accept the abuse because you're a piece of shit victim. Right? That is the worst form of abuse possible, because that's actually what perpetuates all other forms of abuse and mistreatment. Abuse and mistreatment can't exist unless abusers gaslight victims into standing down and accepting that abuse. So all abuse and all harm of innocent beings comes down to abusers gaslighting the victims of abuse in this way, like this woman here tried to do to me in this conversation. It's the most evil and disgusting thing you can possibly do to anyone. To tell them that they're not actually a victim when they are truly a victim of abuse. So I'm sick of people who think like this and think that it's okay and that they can just go around abusing people and think they'll get away with it, because they're not going to get away with it. You know why? Because from now on, men like myself are going to stand up and defend the victims of abuse, no matter who they are, child, woman, or man, no matter what race they are, no matter what their religion is, doesn't matter who they are. Men like me will stand up to defend all innocent beings from all abusers. So you've got a choice. You either accept that you're an abusing piece of scum, alright, and maybe feel like a piece of shit, look at yourself, feel bad, change your ways, stop being abusive, or keep being abusive and outcast yourself, because we're going to make you known as an abuser, and everyone's going to point you out and look down at you as an abuser. Abuse isn't going to be allowed to just continue on, because it's gotten too far. So now it needs to be reined back in. So men like me will start to speak a lot more adamantly about things like the victimization of all people, and that also includes the victimization of innocent men. Now, obviously, a man can defend himself, but that's beside the point. A true man, a real individual of moral character and virtue, will defend everybody, even if that individual is capable of defending themselves. So all good people fight to stop the abuse of men. There's no excuse like, oh, they're men, they can toughen up, they can deal with it. No. That's further gaslighting and abuse of men, which puts you in the category of scum abuser. So if you're not actively helping to put an end to the abuse of men, and you're actually standing up to work with and support the well-being of men who have been victims of abuse, then you are a part of the abuse of men. And you will be shamed for it and called out for it until you actually have an active role in supporting men who are victims of abuse. Thank you. Take it easy.